Hi, this is Josh Kulp for Daf Shevui. We are learning Kuf Yod Aleph, the penultimate page of Masechet Ketubot, and this is really one of my favorite dapim in the Gemara because it shows how multivocal our tradition is and how we allow diametrically opposed opinions to exist one right next to each other. And we listen to each other's voices. I think maybe I'll editorialize here. I think that is a severe lack in our society, our ability to listen to people who really disagree with each other and disagree with us, and to respect their points of view, to hear them, to talk to them, to engage with them in dialogue, even if we disagree about fundamental issues. And what can be more of a fundamental issue than the supreme value of the land of Israel in Judaism. And we see this expressed throughout this whole sugya that goes throughout Kuf Yud Aleph. It is a very long page, so you may have gotten lost in some of the details, but consistently throughout the whole page we see 2 points of view, one of which I think is b'derech chal normally attributed to Rabbi Elazar or to Rabbi Zera. The sugya begins with Rabbi Zera. He wants to go to the land of Israel. And he is constantly explaining how important it is and why he wants to go to the land of Israel. Rabbi Elazar says things like, anybody who lives in the land of Israel, it is as if he has no sin. He says later on, anybody who dies outside of the land of Israel is not going to be revived in the days of the Mashiach, the days of the Messiah. And throughout the sugya, we hear various expressions of Rabbi Elazar's point of view that living in Israel is of mystical, magical value. All right. Of course, he doesn't mean to say that somebody who lives in the land of Israel cannot sin, but it is such a cleansing place that it has almost like a ritual value, almost like the ritual value of a mikveh. It cleanses a person. It revives a person. The value is even greater than the value of community. After all, we read earlier in the sugya, this is probably on the end of Kuf Yud Amud Bet on page 110, that it is better to live in the land of Israel, even in a community that is full of non-Jews, meaning even in a community that you cannot have a minyan, where you would not be able to observe many of the communal aspects of Judaism, where you wouldn't be able to go to somebody else's house for a Shabbos meal. It is better to live in the land of Israel than to live anywhere else. But there's another opinion in the Talmud, and that is typically ascribed to Rav Yehuda and various other Babylonian Amorim. Rabbi Zera tries to run away from Rav Yehuda because he knows Rav Yehuda opposes him moving to the land of Israel. And we don't really know why, but I think we can sense later on that Rav Yehuda lives in a time where the Jewish community in Babylonia is greater than the Jewish community in Palestine, in Eretz Yisrael. Certainly Torah learning is greater in the land in Babylonia than it is in the land of Israel. At least Rav Yehuda perceives it that way. And therefore he says, just as it's asur, prohibited to move from to leave Eretz Yisrael, so too it's forbidden to leave Babylonia. Meaning Babylonia has this value. Babylonia's value cannot be historical. It cannot be magical, mystical. The only value that Babylonia has is the strength. There was a tremendously vibrant, thriving Jewish community. Perhaps, although I don't know, but perhaps one of the greatest Jewish communities that Judaism has ever known. He says, anybody, the ultimate statement of this is anybody who lives in Babylonia, it is as if he lives in the land of Israel. That's Rav Yehuda's opinion. Rav Yehuda's opinion is where you live is judged not by some mystical quality of the land, but where you live is judged by the community in which you live. I'll finish with a maybe a small word about my own experience. As you know, I live in the land of Israel, and I love living in Israel. I have been here now for about 23 years, almost half my life. By next year, it'll be more than half my life. Um, and you may ask, why, Josh, do you live in the land of Israel? Why did you move from America to the land of Israel? And there are a lot of answers to that question, but one is that I happen to have found a community that which I felt really attached to, a community of expatriates, a community of Israelis, a community of like-minded, committed people who wanted to live in a Jewish state. So, in essence, when I examine my own life, it seems like I've taken the Babylonian attitude but applied it to living in the land of Israel. I live here not for magical, mystical reasons, because of the holiness of the land, although sometimes it plays a small part in my thinking about living in Israel. But I live here because it's a vibrant Jewish community that I think is the future of the Jewish people. I'm proud to have raised my kids here and to have made my life here, and I hope to continue to do so for the rest of my life. So I don't usually get into personal details, but there you have it. That's al regel achat, or very briefly, my thoughts on moving to the land of Israel.